Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. Things are getting real interesting, folks. We've got a good while here ahead of November. We're entering peak election season. It's time for the candidates to be making some moves. But unfortunately for Democrats, their candidate seems to be a little bit incapacitated for the moment. You know, not much currently going on there. Joe Biden's in the basement training to stand up for 90 minutes, based on the reporting that we saw yesterday. And actually a little bit of an update on that report. Apparently the Biden campaign is currently lobbying for CNN to do away with the podiums entirely and to have both candidates sitting. Anyways, the point is that Joe Biden's obviously a no-go. The guy just doesn't have the campaigning chops. He doesn't have the ability to build a grassroots groundswell here. But you know who does? Obviously, that man's name is Donald J. Trump. And friends, that's exactly what's happening. President Trump is on the move, and the leftoid maniacs are seething. Let's have a conversation about Donald Trump's latest campaign pitch. We've got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. All right, folks, so Donald Trump has started something here. Last week during his Nevada rally, Trump announced that he would be pushing for no taxation on tips. Take a look.
We got 6 votes. We don't even need the votes. We're going to do it. We're going to do it. We're going to do it. No tax on tips, okay? It's done. Done. And we need to spread the word so that every time you leave a tip for the next 5 months, you put on the receipt, vote for Trump, because there's no tax on tips. You see that? That was done. See the screen? That was done by somebody. They voted. This is a person paying. And they said, vote for Trump, there'll be no tax on tips. That's a person that was a tipster as opposed to a tippee.
The message was, vote for Trump for no tax on tips. And instantly as he announced this, all the leftoids crawled out from under their rocks and started going on and on about how this is a bad policy. Trump's tips proposal is a profoundly unserious idea for a serious problem. They tried hitting him on it, but unfortunately for them, the idea is rather genius. A promise like this could help secure Nevada, obviously. It's the state with the highest concentration of tipped workers in the country, with about 25.8 waiters and waitresses per 1,000 jobs. But in general, it's just a good message, especially during rough economic times. And in my view, it creates a very clear distinction. You have one president who says he wants to lower your taxes, he wants to take money away from big government and put it back in the pockets of individuals, and then you have the other side which wants to tax you into oblivion while they pander to you with empty, fake, phony promises, telling you about all the value that you're going to get from all the taxpayer dollars collected. All this promised value that generally leads to a pretty cruddy return. Me personally, I much prefer the keep your money in your own pocket approach, because I guess you could say the value's implicit. The value's the money that you're keeping. And we're not talking no chump change here. We're talking about possibly saving tens of thousands of dollars a year. I think it's a pretty clear ultimatum. And it seems when people are presented with the ultimatum, well, it has an impact.
I did talk with some hotel workers yesterday, some service workers here in Las Vegas, about how that is playing with them. And Anne-Marie, about 6 people told me that would change their vote. That is enough to make them switch from voting Democrat to Republican if Donald Trump is promising something like that to them.
Seems like it's a pretty good play. In fact, one expert went as far to say as it was, quote, genius.
Trump's tip tax, or getting rid of the tip tax, has become very popular. I like getting rid of taxes. I wonder what other taxes you'd suggest an incoming Trump administration might want to get rid of.
Well, you're right. Genius to not tax tips. Several million people get paid in tips. Tens of millions during the course of their life have. There are a lot of 70-year-olds who remember tips, and this makes sense to them. I think we should take a look at the beer and liquor tax. This is a hangover from Prohibition. If the states want to tax it, why should the federal government do that sort of thing?
Democrats want you to believe that it's a bad idea. They argue that you should pay your taxes in full, but rather support them for an increase in the minimum wage. And that's where you're going to get your pay increase. But I think what they mean by pay increase is that's how you get replaced with a McDonald's-style robotic kiosk. They're making all these wacky, ridiculous arguments, trying to convince us that it's a bad idea. And of course, the main staple argument here, the same one that we heard during the initial Trump tax cuts from back in his first term, that by reducing tax collection, you exacerbate the deficit problem. Here we go again through the Democrat mode of thinking. The only way to reduce the deficit, or rather the only way to fix any problem, is by taxing the productive members of your society. We won't even entertain that argument because it's so economically illiterate. We'll simply come to the conclusion that we always come to. The left is obviously dishonest, desperate, and totally coping. They just want to downplay this obviously tactical, strategic, smart move. Probably mostly because they realize how impactful it could be. And boy, is it now hitting another level as President Trump encourages the latest trend.
No tax on tips.
President Donald Trump, he spent his Saturday making his pitch to voters here in Detroit, Michigan. He spent his time across two separate events, first stopping by the historically black church, 180 Church, and then going to the Turning Point Convention downtown. At both venues, he echoed a policy that the businessman vows will go into effect if he takes office. That is, no tax on tips.
I will eliminate taxes on tips for restaurant workers and hospitality workers and anyone else relying on tips. No more taxes on tips. No taxes on tips. None.
That's Donald Trump engaging in and encouraging the trend of writing "Vote Trump for no tips" on your restaurant and other service bills to spread the message far and wide across the service industry. And of course, already it's taken off like wildfire.
This has become a big meme on X as well, people posting the receipts that they left at the restaurant. Some of those folks are real big tippers. Look at this guy. He had a $60 bill, and he tipped $60, and then wrote on there, "Vote Trump, and you won't be paying tax on these tips." Of course, if you're getting a tip of $60 on a $60 bill, you could probably afford to pay the taxes.
Well, they don't always happen that way. And, you know,
They do not.
When you work in that industry, which so many of us have, you live for that day where somebody's feeling very generous and you want to take as much of that home as possible.
Yeah. Well, I tell you, it's going to be very, very popular in places that are hubs for service, like Las Vegas, Nevada. If Trump could flip Clark County in Nevada, that would be huge, and that would definitely lead to him winning the state.
There's another one of those receipts. Somebody writing "no tax on tips" as they turned it in. All right.
What a stupid guy, right? That's what they tell you. What a dumb thing to say and what a bad policy. I don't know, seems pretty base to me in terms of policy. Continue reducing taxes across the board, and if the deficit flares up, well, stop spending so much. And the electoral strategy here, I mean, I give it a 10 on 10. This decision, in my view, essentially seals the deal in Nevada, and definitely in Florida as well. Keep coping, leftoids. This is what campaigning looks like. Watch and learn as your geriatric candidate continues to decay in his basement. Anyways, that's pretty much what I got for you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.